So welcome to another edition of Business Studies where I, Vishwanath Jatan, shall be doing this planning process. Before we understood how important the function of planning was all about. Now we shall go a step ahead and do the planning process, which is basically a 7-step process. So let's first get started with the planning process. As I put down each point, I shall explain each of them and then we'll come to the conclusion of the 7-step process. Now, the first point of importance when we start off planning is setting objectives. We all need to know what to do. We all need to know what to do. For example, if we want to increase our sales by 60%, we want to increase our sales by 40%, we want to reduce the price of certain commodities which we are manufacturing. These all are objectives. The company wants to increase its sales from 2,000 crores to 2,500 crores. So these all are setting objectives. So everything in the process of planning sets off with setting the objectives. Now, as we finish off setting the objectives, we go to point number 2. Point number 2 is developing premises. Now here the word premises should not be confused with the word land and building. Here premises means assumptions, business assumptions. We go through certain assumptions. Business environment is never going to remain the same. It is going to change every time. So developing premises is a very important aspect and it is the second step in the process of planning. Okay, from here we go to the third step, that is identifying the alternative course of action. Now remember, when we have a problem, we first try and find out what is the problem all about. So we have to find out how we can go about doing a certain thing. Say for example, you want to manufacture a product. When you want to manufacture a product, you have got two very easy options. One is you have it made by hand and secondly you have it made by machine. So this is the alternative course of action which you are trying to think about. So which is feasible for you and technically sound, you are going to opt for that. So that is your third point in the planning process, that is identifying the alternative courses of action. From here we go a step ahead and find out from the various varieties which one is the better variety. That is, you are going to evaluate, you are going to find out what is the alternative course of action. Okay, so then you come to know exactly what step to take ahead. Okay, and then from here we go to point number 5 where it is selecting an alternative course. Okay, selecting an alternative plan. There is one saying that if plan A fails, there are other 25 plans to follow. That is plan B, C, D and so on. So you have to select an alternative and keep it ready. Finally, after you have decided with selecting that alternative, you go to implement it. You are actually going to put it into use. So when you put it into use, you will come to know whether you have succeeded or not. And of course, when you finish implementing the plan, you are going to do the follow-up action. The follow-up action is very important. Okay, today if we are just implementing a plan without any supervision, it will come down to 0. So it is very important that we have a follow-up action. A follow-up action means that someone is supervising the entire stuff and the business is going to get underway. So just having a recap about the whole planning process. First, there is setting up of objectives, then there is developing premises, then there is identifying the alternative courses of action. Then after you identify, you have to evaluate, you have to see which one is good. After you see which one is good, you select. Just like when we go to the market, we see we want to buy a kg of apples and there are different varieties of apples. So you will think as per your budget what to buy. So you have selected. Once you have selected, you are going to implement the plan. And implement the plan means you are actually putting it into the working progress. And it is very essential after that you follow it up. Because if you don't follow it up, it means that you are negligent and you are not looking after your business properly. So this is your 7-step planning process. As we have finished with the process of planning, where we saw the different steps in the process of planning, we now come to the types of plan. A plan is a specific action proposed to help the organization to achieve its objectives. It's basically a document which shows the outline how the goals will be achieved. Okay, so we have important words here. One is specific action, achieve the objectives, and show how the goals will be determined. Based on this and the length of the planning period, plans can be classified into 2 types. One is a single-use plan and the other is a standing plan. A single-use plan is basically developed for a one-time event, like someone's 50th birthday or someone's 40th birthday or a child's first birthday. It's not going to occur again. So these are milestones. Once that plan is done for a birthday party, it is over. So also we can tell that it is non-recurring. As against this, a standing plan is used for a regular activity which occurs again and again. So it is designed to ensure that the internal operations run smoothly. Okay, so we just saw that one of the important distinguishing feature between a single-use plan and a standing plan is that a standing plan will be repeated again and again, while a single-use plan will not be repeated again and again. So coming back to a single-use plan, it may be, the duration may be a day, a week or a month. Okay, it's like organizing an event. The event could be big, it could be small, it could be organizing a seminar which is for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days or even a week. Okay, so going further, once this plan is over, once a single-use plan is over, we discard this plan. We discard this plan completely. While as in a standing plan, it is going to occur again and again. This enhances the efficiency in the routine decision making. It is used over and over again. Okay, let me quote some examples of a single-use plans. In single-use plans, we have something like a budget, a program or a project. While as in a standing plan, we have policies, procedures, methods and rules. Okay, so coming to the types of plans, I'm just going to repeat the types of plans. Your types of plans now on the basis of single-use plans and standing plans are divided into 8. The first one is objectives, the second one is procedure, the third is budget, the fourth is strategy, the fifth is rule, and the sixth program, seventh policy, and eighth method. So just repeating quickly: objectives, procedure, budget, strategy, rule, program, policy and method. After naming each of the different types of plans, we now come into explanation of each of them specifically. We take up the first type of plan, which is objectives. As the very name suggests, objectives, there is an object behind it. Okay, there is a motive behind it. These are the ends or results which the management seeks to achieve by its operations, by what it does, basically. The future position desired or the destination is achieved in this process. Where am I now? Where do I want to go? Like for example, I want to increase the sales by 20% or 25%. So right now I am in a particular figure. I am going to increase it by 20 or 25%. So it will get you to the end result. These objectives are set by the top management, like the CEO or the COO or the chairman or the managing director. So the top management put a lot of efforts thinking psychologically, and of course it should be profitable for the organization in the future, that its objectives are very clear cut. Now when we talk about the word clear cut, we can tell that these objectives are given in specific terms. Okay, 100 units, 1000 units, 10,000 units, 20%, 30%, 10 liters, 1000 liters. These all are given in specific terms. That means that they are measurable. You can easily measure them. Okay, giving a few examples further. Sales, increase of sales by 10%, increase of sales by 25%, increase of turnover, increase of your revenues by 40,000 crores or by 30,000 crores, spending a specific amount for the library, say spending 20 crores for the library. So this was what we discussed about objectives. That was your first type of plan. Now we go to the second type of plan. Your second type of plan is strategy. Now we all have played games. We all have played video games. We have played board games. And in each of these games you will observe that there is a certain strategy which you have to work out. A certain game plan. Okay? Everything, if you see in this world, is a game. Of course the games vary from person to person, place to place. So this strategy is a comprehensive plan for meeting the challenge posed by the activities of the competitor. So here there is your enemy. The competitors are your enemies. And also the environmental forces. The environmental forces are the business environment, the external forces which is going to change, which is ever going to change. The policies by the government, the new policy resolutions by the government, the fiscal policies, the budget, all these are going to pose a lot of changes. So you have to change your strategy. If your business is not doing well, you have to diversify. You have to change your strategy. You have to face your competitors. Facing your competitors is the biggest challenge, and for that you require strategy. Now when we talk about this term strategy, it includes three dimensions. It includes three things very specifically. First is defining the long-term objectives. Whenever we are doing something, it's not for the short term, otherwise we'll have to keep repeating it again and again. So we are determining long-term objectives. When we determine long-term objectives, that means we are having a very clear focus, a clear vision that we shall reach somewhere in the future. Also, when you have a strategy, you are adapting a particular course of action, which way to go. When the enemy is coming in one side, we have to change our direction. Okay, if we are not competent enough to tackle with them, we'll think another day, we'll come back and attack them. So these all are mind games also. So you have to adapt a particular course of action. When you adapt a particular course of action, you have to allocate resources which are necessary to achieve these objectives. Okay, so this is what we are dealing in. Also, remember one thing, strategy are future decisions. Okay, and they are for the long run. It is not for the short run. And they are formulated by the top levels. Okay, and basically what does strategy do? It scans the business environment. It sees that what are the flaws in your organization, and it tries to remove those flaws outside. Okay, and there are major strategic decisions which are there, which you might have to change the line of your product also. Let's take for example Coca-Cola competing with Pepsi. Okay, so they their strategies will match with that of Pepsi. If Pepsi reduces the price, even Coke will follow and reduces the price. If Coke increases the number of liters in a particular bottle, Pepsi is going to follow the same thing. Otherwise, Pepsi will lose out. So there is a clear game strategy which has to be adopted. Now we come to the third type of plan. The third type of plan is policy. Now what is a policy? It is a general statement or understanding that guides the decision making. Also, policy handles the problem. Okay? It is a basis for interpreting your strategy. It guides the managerial actions and decision and implements the strategy. Okay, so what does it do? It gives you the path, it gives you the way in which you are going to take the decision for the implementation of the strategy. Also, policy defines the parameters. Okay, what action you should take, what is your purchase policy, what is your sales policy, how much credit which should you be giving to your consumers. Okay, so these all are adapted in a policy, and the policies have to be very clear cut. Now remember one thing, policies are there in all levels of organization. All levels of organization. Example, the policy of a school is to give admission to those students who have acquired 85%. Okay, so it is a very clear cut policy. Now McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's, the food franchisee, it is not going to give any franchisee to others. Okay, it is only going to keep it to itself. So the policy is very clear cut. I have a policy, if I have a shop, I am not going to sell goods on credit. Okay, and also the policy to deal with the wholesalers. I am not going to give it to the retailers. I am going to sell the goods only to the wholesalers. So this is an example of policy, and each organization, each unit has different policies to follow. We now go to the fourth type of plan, which is known as procedure. Now, the very word procedure tells that, whenever you visit a clinic or a hospital, the doctor tells there is a certain procedure to be followed. Okay, the certain procedure is that you have to get yourself registered first, you have to fill in your details, and then the doctor will diagnose what is your problem, and on that basis he will take the future course of action. So procedure is a way to do things. It is a plan that determines the sequence of doing any work for achieving objectives. What is it? It is a sequence of doing any work for achieving objectives. So it has to be a sequence. There has to be a flow. Okay? If there isn't a flow, then it's not a procedure. Now basically, if you're talking about the word procedure, it is chronological. Okay, it might go date wise, it might go number wise, it might go month wise. So there is a sequence of steps, one after the other. Even when we are playing a game, I am coming again to games and games again. Whenever we are playing any game, there is a certain step when you go to the next level. If you don't finish with one level, you are not going to go to the next level. Okay, the same with our school policies also. Once you pass one standard, you go to the other standard. Okay. Now, it is laid down for repetitive work. The same steps which are going to happen again and again. So these are procedures. They have to be followed. They have to be. The greatest number of procedures which we follow is if we have to do something from the government offices. We have to go there again and again. And every time they will tell, this is a procedure to be followed. We might not know what are the procedures, but these are the procedures which have to be followed. Most policies, there is an accompanying procedure. So any of the policies which are there, you will see there is the word procedure attached to that. Let's take for example, I get a number of invitations for applicants. So what I do, I set up a file. Okay. And to set up the file, you have to accept the file and then put the necessary documents. So whenever the necessary documents come, okay, and I tell you I need file number this, I will get the requisite information. Okay, so I move from procedure to the next type of plan, which is known as method. Okay, as a very step tells method, Here we do a lot of sums in maths. There are certain methods, there are certain steps to be followed, and these have to be followed. These are standard steps. Let's take for example the Bodmer's rule. You have to go as per what BODMAS tells you. You have to follow that line, so you cannot go wrong. Otherwise, each one of us will have different answers in maths if we are following different methods. Okay? So it is standardized way in which a given task has to be performed. You have to go as per the standard. These are steps, these are standards, these are methods. You have to follow these. Selection of proper method saves time. Of course, you know there are some things, there are shortcuts which are easier for us to understand. It saves time, it saves money, it saves effort, and it increases efficiency. The meaning of efficiency means you are doing the things in a shorter span of time, and plus you're saving money. Okay, so this is method for you. And also let's take for example any new employee coming to a firm. The first thing they follow is they see to it that the employees get this initial training, the induction training there. So this is also a method which some of the organizations follow. Okay, from here we shift to the next type of plan, which is a rule. When we tell the word rule, means it has to be followed. Okay, like for example, there is a board written in a restaurant, no smoking, no outside eatables allowed. So this has to be followed. Okay, and if you don't adhere to this, you will be penalized. So what is a rule? A rule is a code of conduct. We all know in school, sometimes or the other, of course, you know, if you don't do the right way, you're going to get penalized in some way or the other. So what has to be done in specific situations? These are the rules which are laid down, and it provides no scope for any discretion and any judgment. It is to be followed. Okay, it is to be followed by all. And if you err in doing it, you will be penalized. There is penalty for violation of this. So there is no smoking or no outside eatables, which I gave you an example. From rule, I go to the 7th plan, that is known as a program. Now a program, if you see, there are a lot of things. Let's say for example, we had an annual program. We had the annual day. So there were many items which were there. So it includes many things altogether. What we can say right now is that a program is a comprehensive plan. It covers a lot of plans together. What does it do? It implements policies to achieve the objectives. It is a combination of objectives, policies, procedures, rules, resources. So you see, you just imagine that you are having an annual day program. So there are so many things which are there. There are people in charge of discipline. There are people in charge of the various candidates who are taking part in a particular play. The participants, all of them, they have to follow certain rules. Like when they are entering the back gate of the auditorium, they are supposed to maintain pin drop silence. Otherwise, this is going to affect the next program. So it is a combination of objectives, policies, procedures, and rules, and even resources, and much more. There are two types of programs. Basically, one is a major program and the other is a minor program. A major program will be running on a very long-term basis. Say for example, you want to eradicate poverty. You want to reduce the inequalities in the level of income. So this is a very major policy which will run for years together. While as a minor policy means there is a repair work of a certain road or something. These are minor things which have to be done. Okay, so that is it, and we go to the next plan from here, which is incidentally the last plan, budget. Okay, a basic meaning of the word budget is an estimate. Okay, it is a statement of expected results expressed in numerical terms for a definite period of time. Say for example, the budget of India, when it starts from the 1st of April and it carries on till the 31st of March in the next fiscal year. So it's from 1/4/2020 to 31st March 2021. So it is for a period of 1 year. So it is a statement of expected results. Even the companies have got results. They prepare their balance sheet, they analyze all these things for a definite period of time. The plan of action or a blueprint to be achieved is basically your budget, which has predetermined objectives of various departments. Okay, there could be a budget for department A, there could be a budget for department B, and so on. So this is your last plan, and going through all the plans again, okay, you need to go through all the plans again in order to understand, and these are important questions from the board point of view.